Okay, we're going to go ahead and do a review on volume for all of the figures that we've learned this year. So the first one, as you can see to the left, is going to be a rectangular prism, and then we're going to have a triangular prism here in two different forms. Now, of course, make sure you have your formula sheet out. This is just the same thing you see on the formula. Prism or cylinder, the volume is going to be equal to base times height. Okay, so as you notice, all of these formulas are the same, but this big B here is different. What this big B actually means is going to be the area of the base. Okay, so yes, it is true that for all of these the volume is going to be equal to the base times height, but big B, the value of big B, or the formula for big B, is going to be very different for each one of these. So always make sure you go ahead and write your formula. This big B is the area of the base, which is going to be my little b times my h, and then this is going to be my outer height. So volume is going to be equal to 6 times 3, because this is going to be my base, 6 times 3, and then multiplied by our outer height, which is going to be equal to 4. So I'm just going to do 6 times 4 over here. So 6 times 4 is 24 multiplied by 3. So now we got 24 times 3 is going to be equal to 72. So this is 72 centimeters cubed. This is going to be the volume. Next, we have volume is equal to base times height. Now, over here, this is a triangle. Remember, on your formula sheet, the area for a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So in this case, my base is going to be equal to 4.5, 4.5, and my height is going to be equal to 5. So 4.5 times 5, and then I'm going to divide that by 2. And then the height, remember, the height connects the two bases. So the base of the triangle, the base of is the triangle. What connects the two bases? This 8 right here. So my height is going to be the 8. So now we have 4.5 multiplied by 5, which is going to give us 22.5 divided by 2, and I'm going to multiply that by 8. So 22.5 divided by 2 is going to be equal to 11.25. Then I'm just going to go ahead and multiply that by 8. So my answer is going to be 90 centimeters cubed. Okay, so remember, for triangles, we're not really concerned about the hypotenuse. Okay, we just want the base and we want the height of a triangle. Now, this is similar as well. As you can see, this is a triangular prism. So my bases are the triangles. So my height here must be 12. Now, the base of my triangle is 8, and then the height is going to be 3. Remember, we are not using the hypotenuse. We do not use these diagonals for the area of a triangle. So volume is equal to base, which is 8, multiplied by the area's height, which is 3. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. Remember, area is base times height divided by 2. And then the height of the outside is 12. So 8 times 3 is 24, multiplied by 12. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. 12 times 12 is going to be 144 centimeters cubed. Okay, so that would be the volume of that. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at cylinders, at problem solving. Now, say for instance you're given the area and you need to figure something else out. We're going to go ahead and use the formula in order to work backwards here. Actually skipped one. Okay, there we go. Oh, actually, we're just going to go ahead and go to cylinders. So, the formula for the volume of a cylinder, the volume is equal to, once again, base times height. What you have to understand is that the base is a circle, so we need the area of the base. So we're going to need the formula for the area of a circle. The formula for the area of a circle is pi r squared. But there's two bases, alright? So it's going to be pi r squared, but 2. Alright? Now we're going to go ahead and multiply it by the height. So the height in this case is going to be equal to 10. Alright? And I'm sorry, we don't have a 2 here. Alright, so the base is just pi r squared, and then our height is going to be 10. So volume is equal to 3.14. Our radius is going to be equal to 4. And then our height is going to be equal to 10. So volume is going to be 16 pi, basically, times 10. 160 times 3.14. So volume is 160 times 3.14, which is going to give me 502.4 inches cubed. Alright, same thing here. Volume is equal to, I'm just going to start with the direct formula, pi r squared times the height. So remember, this is big B. This is big B. Volume is equal to 8 squared pi times the height, which is 15. So volume is equal to 64 times 15 times pi. All I did was switch the numbers around. So 64 times 15 is going to be equal to 960. So 960 pi is my answer if I were to ask you to leave it in terms of pi. But if I were to ask you to multiply through, I'm going to multiply this by 3.14, of course, because pi is 3.14. So I get 3,014.4 centimeters cubed. Okay, once again, we're working with the same formula. Pi r squared times the height, and remember that this is equal to big B. So volume is equal to, the diameter is 10, so my radius must be 5, so it's going to be 5 squared pi multiplied by the height of 21. So volume is equal to 25 times 21, and then pi. 25 multiplied by 21 is going to give me 525 pi. So if you were to be asked to leave it in terms of pi, it would just be 525 pi, but then multiplied by 3.14, 1,648.5 feet cubed. Alright, so we have all of our answers here. So as you can see, we're using the same formula for volume for all of these shapes. So volume is equal to base times height, but the only thing that's different is for each of these shapes, they have different bases. So since they have different shapes for bases, they have different base areas. Okay, so that's the main thing you need to remember for volume of prisms and cylinders. Now, let's go into a few more examples, and then that'll be it. So now, let's say that we know the volume, but we're missing something. We're either missing the height, or we're missing the base, or something like that, or we're missing the radius. So what we're going to do is we're going to write our formula. Volume is equal to base times height. We know that for the base, it's a circle. So we have pi r squared multiplied by the height. So the volume is 144.4. Pi is just pi, so I'm just going to leave it as pi. We see that the diameter is 4, so that means the radius is 2. So this is going to be 2 squared. And then our height is what we don't know. So I'm just going to leave it as h. It has x here, but I'm just going to leave it as h. So now, let's just go ahead and problem solve for this. So this is going to be equal to pi is 3.14, and then 2 squared is 4. And then this is h. So what's 3.14 times 4? That's going to be equal to 12.56, and then h. So that's 188.4. Divide by 12.56, and divide by 12.56. So now I get h is 188.4 divided by 12.56. So my answer is going to be equal to 15. So 15 yards is going to be the height of this cylinder. So 15 yards. So as you can see, as long as I have the formula, I could figure things out just by plugging in. So once again, volume is equal to base times height. My formula, I know the base is going to be equal to pi r squared. Right? So good news, here it actually gives me the area of the base. So I actually don't need this. I already have big B. So we got 942 equal to big B, pi r squared, is going to be equal to 25 pi, and then multiplied by the height. So the height is still what we don't know. But for 25, I can put 3.14, and then h, and then 942. There we go. So now 942 is equal to 25 times 3.14, which gives me 78.5, and then times the height. So now I just divide by 78.5 and divide by 78.5. So when I take 942 and divide by 78.5, I get left with 12. So 12 millimeters is the height. Last one. Volume is equal to base times height. Volume is equal to pi r squared times the height. So we have 1,570 as our volume. Then we just have 3.14 multiplied by r squared. Let me just go ahead and separate that. And then our height is 5. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and multiply 3.14 times 5. 3.14 times 5. Because as you can see, they're on the same side. So I could go ahead and multiply those together. So 3.14 times 5 gives me 15.7, which is equal to r squared. Okay? So something interesting here, of course, we see the same numbers. So divide by 15.7 and divide by 15.7. So I have r squared, 1,570 divided by 15.7 is going to give you 100. So it's saying r squared is 100. So if r squared is 100, then r is going to be equal to 10. So this is 10 feet. Okay, so as you can see, as long as you have the formula, you could always work backwards in order to figure out these problems. Rolling right on through, we're going to talk about the volume of cones. So it's the same exact thing. As you can see for the formula here, the only thing that's different is that we're going to add a little 1/3 at the very beginning. Alright? So volume is equal to base times height for this example, and then volume is equal to 1/3 base times height. I use the same radius and the same height here in order to show you that these formulas are very similar. So volume is equal to pi r squared times the height. Volume is equal to 1/3 pi r squared times the height. So volume is equal to, I'm just going to keep pi for now, so 2 squared pi times, 3 squared pi times 2. Volume is equal to 1/3 of, once again, 3 squared pi times 2. Alright, so let's see what I can do here. I can do 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. So I have 18 pi. Alright, so over here, once again, I'm just going to keep the 1/3 over here. This is just going to be the same thing I calculated on the other side. So I need 1/3 of 18 pi. Now, I could take 1/3 of 18. 1/3 of 18 is going to be equal to 6. So I get 6 pi here. Okay? So volume is equal to 18 times 3.14, which is going to be 56.52. And then volume is equal to 6 times 3.14, which is going to be 18.84. Okay? So let's take a second in order to notice the similarities and differences here. As you can see, the cylinder is always going to be 3 times the volume of the cone if the radius and the heights are the same. If they have the same radius with the same base area and the same heights. It's always going to be 3 times as big. And the cone is always going to be 1/3 as big as the cylinder. Okay? So that's always going to be a fact if the base areas are the same and the heights are the same. Okay? And that's basically it. The last thing we have to go over now is spheres. So spheres is very easy. The only thing that you have to remember is that there's a cubed here. So we're just basically filling in the formula. Volume is equal to 4/3, and then we got pi r cubed. So volume is equal to 4/3, and then you got 3.14. Radius in this case is going to be 3, and then this is going to be cubed. So I'm just going to go ahead and type this all into my calculator. remember, you could always use alpha y equals in order to go ahead and write a fraction. So we got 4/3 multiplied by 3.14 multiplied by 3 cubed. Please remember that this is cubed, this is not squared. So when you put this all into your calculator, you get 113.04. And this is going to be meters cubed. Okay, so I'm just going to skip this one because it's the same exact thing. 4/3 pi r cubed. So the thing about this one is that you have a diameter, and of course you're going to need a radius. So it's going to be 4/3 3.14, and my radius here is going to be equal to 7. Alright, so once again, all you have to do is type this into your calculator, and then you could just get the answer in one shot. So alpha y equals is going to be the button you need in order to create this little fraction over here, and then you just type everything else in. When you do that, you're going to get a result of 1,436.0, and I'm going to go ahead and round to nearest tenth. So it's 0.02, so I'm just going to keep it as 0.0 so I can round to the nearest tenth, and this is going to be meters cubed. Okay? And that's basically it.